Welcome to this life-changing video. If you've ever forgotten a name just seconds after hearing it, if you've studied for hours only to forget everything in the exam, if you walk into a room and forget why you came in, if your head feels overloaded with information and you can't remember what matters, then this video is not just for you. It is meant for you. You're about to learn the exact steps that can unlock your brain, upgrade your memory, and help you remember anything you want forever. This isn't just another 5 tricks to boost your memory type of video. This is a deep, powerful system that will help you transform the way your brain works starting today. And here's the best part. This video is also great for your English because as you listen, you'll learn how to use real, clear, and powerful English sentences, improve your understanding, and grow your vocabulary naturally. So, whether you want to pass exams, remember everything you read, speak better English, or train your mind like a genius, stay with me till the end. Because if you truly apply the steps I'm about to show you, you will never forget what matters again. And you will finally feel what it's like to trust your mind again. Let's begin. The real reason you forget everything. Before you can learn how to remember everything, you need to know why you forget. Most people think they have a bad memory. They say things like, "I'm not smart. My brain is weak. I just can't memorize things." But here's the truth. You don't have a weak memory. You just have an untrained one. And the first mistake is this. We never learned how memory actually works. Let me explain it to you in the simplest and most powerful way. Your brain is like a library. Every time you learn something, a name, a date, a fact, it's like putting a book on a shelf. But if you don't place that book carefully, if you don't label it, if you don't come back and check it, it gets lost in the noise. That's exactly what happens in your mind. Information comes in, but it doesn't stay because your brain doesn't move it from short-term memory to long-term memory. And that's the key. Short-term memory is like a whiteboard. You write something down, but if you don't save it, it gets wiped out. Long-term memory is like a permanent notebook. Once it's saved there, it stays forever. But most people keep everything in short-term memory. They hear a name but never repeat it. They read a page but don't connect it emotionally. They cram for exams but don't revisit the material. So the information never moves to long-term storage and it disappears. Let's say you're at a party. You meet someone new. They say, "Hi, I'm Jason." You smile, shake hands, talk for a few minutes, and walk away. 5 minutes later, someone asks, "What was his name?" And your brain goes blank. Why? Because your brain heard the name but never processed it. It was never repeated. It was never linked to anything emotional. It was never visualized, so it vanished. Now imagine this. You meet Jason again, but this time you think, Jason, like Jason Statham, the actor, and he does look a bit like him. You smile. You repeat his name. "Nice to meet you, Jason." Then later you say it again. "Jason, what do you do now?" Your brain has focused, connected, and repeated. It has built a stronger path, and next time you see him, you remember the lesson. Memory is not a talent. It is a skill. And like any skill, it begins with understanding how it works. If you keep throwing information into your brain without understanding how it saves it, you will always feel lost. But if you apply what you're learning right now, you'll finally feel in control. So before we move forward, remember this. Your memory is not broken. Your system is. And today we're going to build a new system. Pay full attention, because you can't remember what you never noticed. Here's a brutal truth. You don't have a memory problem. You have an attention problem. You cannot remember what you did not see clearly. You cannot remember what your brain never focused on in the first place. Let me explain why this matters so much. Because if you don't fix this one thing, none of the other memory steps will work. Every day, your brain receives millions of pieces of information. Sounds, colors, movements, words, faces, texts, notifications, noises, headlines, voices. If your brain tried to remember everything, you would go insane. So, it chooses what to keep and what to forget. And how does it choose? Based on your attention. If you focus on it, it stays. If you don't, it disappears like it never existed. Your attention is the key that unlocks memory. Imagine this. You get out of a taxi. You're tired. You're checking your phone. You're thinking about dinner. You pay the driver and accidentally leave your bag in the car. 5 minutes later, you realize, oh no, my bag, my passport, my laptop. You try to remember the car's number plate, but your brain gives you nothing. Why? Because your brain was never truly paying attention to the car. You saw it, but you didn't look. You heard the driver's voice, but you didn't listen. Your brain never saved the data because you never told it to. Now, imagine if you had paused for just 1 second before getting out of the car, looked at the number plate, noticed the driver's face, said to yourself, "Okay, this is a white Toyota with plate number 8473. That 1 second of attention could have saved you everything. You sit in a classroom or on YouTube and someone says something important, but your mind is already somewhere else. You hear it, but it never enters. You read a sentence, but your mind is half thinking about a song you heard earlier. You listen to a podcast, but you're also texting a friend at the same time. Later you say, "I studied, but I don't remember." No, you didn't study with attention. You were physically present but mentally absent. If your mind is not here, your memory won't be either. And it's not your fault. The world is designed to steal your attention. Social media, notifications, multitasking, noise, all of it trains your brain to stay distracted. But the truth is simple. You can't save a file if you never opened it. So don't blame your memory. Blame your focus. Because memory begins with attention. From now on, whenever you want to remember something, stop, pause, look, listen, say it out loud, repeat it in your head. Give it real attention for just 5 seconds. Because those 5 seconds can be the difference between remembering for life and forgetting forever. Attention is the door. If you don't open it, nothing gets inside. Let's dive deeper into the core of this system, starting with the most crucial element, attention. We said that you can't remember what you never noticed. This is not a philosophical statement. It is a biological fact. Your brain has a filter, and that filter is attention. If the information doesn't pass through the filter, it is discarded before it even reaches the short-term memory whiteboard. Think about your daily life. How many times do you walk into a room and forget why you went there? This is a classic attention failure. You were thinking about one thing, doing another, and the intention, the reason you walked into the room, was never truly solidified with attention. To fix this, you need to practice what I call the 5-second pause. The 5-second pause is simple. Before you do anything important, pause for 5 seconds. If you are about to read a new chapter, pause, look at the title and ask yourself, what do I expect to learn here? If you are introduced to a new person, pause, look at their face, and repeat their name out loud or in your head. If you are about to start a new task, pause and visualize the finished result. That 5-second pause is your brain's signal to switch from autopilot to recording mode. It is the difference between seeing and observing, between hearing and listening. Let's apply this to English learning. When you hear a new word, don't just let it pass. Pause. Say the word out loud. Spell it in your mind. Ask yourself, what picture does this word create? This small act of focused attention is the first step in moving that word from the fleeting whiteboard of short-term memory to the permanent notebook of long-term memory. Without this pause, without this focused attention, all the other techniques we discuss are useless. Attention is the foundation. Build it strong. Turn words into pictures, because your brain thinks in images, not text. Now that you've trained your attention, here's the next secret. Your brain doesn't remember words. It remembers pictures. Let that sink in. If I say the word elephant, what pops into your mind? The letters ELEPHANT? No, you see a big gray animal with a long trunk, flapping ears, walking slowly. That's how your brain stores data, as images, not as text. So if you want to remember anything, a name, a word, a fact, a number, you need to convert it into a mental picture. Words are boring. They're abstract. Your brain doesn't know what to do with them. But images are alive. They have color, emotion, shape, movement. Example, you meet a girl named Lily. Now, if you just think Lily equals name, you'll forget it in minutes. But what if you imagine her hair made of white lilies, or her holding a bouquet of lilies while smiling? Now her name is connected to a picture. Your brain goes, oh, that's interesting. Let's keep it. The more exaggerated or funny or strange the image, the stronger the memory. Want to remember the word volcano? Don't just picture a mountain. Imagine a giant birthday cake erupting with red-hot chocolate lava. Add sound, boom, add smell. Burnt chocolate. It sounds silly, but that's why it works. Because memory is emotion. Memory is movement. Memory is created when your brain says, "Whoa, that's cool." Let's try with a list you want to remember. Milk, eggs, book, shoes, cat. Don't memorize like a robot. Create a picture story in your mind. A giant milk carton is reading a book, sitting on a pair of shoes, while a cat wearing glasses watches, and eggs are falling from the sky like snowflakes. Now you're laughing, now you're seeing. Now you'll never forget because your brain remembers stories and images, not bullet points. This technique is used by memory champions who memorize hundreds of words in minutes, actors who remember long scripts, language learners who remember thousands of foreign words, business speakers who deliver presentations without notes. And now you can use it too. From now on, don't just read information. See it, feel it, animate it in your head. Turn names into faces, turn ideas into pictures, turn facts into funny images. Because when you do this, your brain will no longer be a leaky bucket. It will become a vault filled with clear, unforgettable pictures. This step alone can make your memory 10 times stronger, especially if you're learning English, new vocabulary, speeches, or anything you want to keep forever. Now, let's move to the second powerful step. Turn words into pictures. Your brain is a visual organ. It processes images 60,000 times faster than text. This is why the example of the elephant works so well. You don't see the letters. You see the animal. We must exploit this natural tendency of the brain. The key here is to make your mental pictures vivid. Use bright colors, strong emotions, and clear details. Don't just picture a car. Picture a bright red Ferrari crashing into a giant bowl of spaghetti. Interactive. Make the objects in your picture do something. The car isn't just near the spaghetti. It's crashing into it. The action is what your brain remembers. Silly, strange. The more ridiculous the image, the better. Your brain is bored by the normal. It pays attention to the bizarre. A cat wearing glasses is more memorable than a cat sleeping. Alive. Add sound, smell, and feeling. The volcano erupts with a loud boom and the smell of burnt chocolate. Engaging all your senses makes the memory multidimensional and therefore unforgettable. Let's try this with a few more English words. Imagine you want to remember the word ephemeral, which means lasting for a very short time. Picture a giant, beautiful butterfly made of glass, vivid, strange. It lands on your hand, and as soon as it touches you, it shatters into a million tiny pieces. Interactive, alive, emotional. That image, the beautiful shattering butterfly, is now the definition of ephemeral. You will never forget it. Or take the word ubiquitous, meaning present everywhere. Picture a giant smiling yellow rubber duck, vivid, silly. You look out your window and there's the duck. You open your fridge and there's the duck. You look in your pocket and there's the duck. The duck is everywhere. It is ubiquitous. This is the secret of memory champions. They don't have better brains. They have better techniques for translating abstract information into the language their brain understands. VISA pictures. Practice this every day. Take 10 new English words and create a VISA picture for each one. This is the fastest way to build a powerful vocabulary. Use the story method because your brain is wired for narrative, not lists. Here's a life-changing truth. Your brain doesn't like boring facts. It likes drama. It likes characters. It likes emotion. It likes stories. And that's why the next memory tool is so powerful. If you want to remember anything in life, wrap it in a story. Why lists don't work. Imagine someone says, here's a list. Remember it. Apple, horse, jacket, candle, ice cream, cloud, socks, chair, tree, monkey. Try to memorize it. You might remember 3 or 4, maybe 6 if you push hard. But after 5 minutes, it's gone. Why? Because a list is disconnected. Each item is floating alone. No links, no feelings, no relationships. Now let's change the method. Let's use the story method. Instead of memorizing, we create a crazy, funny, emotional story. Ready? A giant apple falls from the sky and hits a horse on the head. The horse screams, runs into a shop, and steals a jacket. He lights a candle to see in the dark, but accidentally melts an ice cream cone. The ice cream explodes into a cloud that rains socks. One sock hits a chair, which grows into a tree. And from that tree, a laughing monkey swings down and gives you a thumbs up. Now pause, close your eyes, repeat the story to yourself. You will remember every word in the exact order. Why? Because now the list is no longer a list. It's a movie inside your brain. Stories have connection. Each thing leads to the next. Stories have movement, which your brain loves. Stories have emotion. Even if it's silly, your brain says, "This is fun." Stories create a visual scene. So now it's not text, it's memory. This is how children remember fairy tales word for word, but forget their math lesson. This is how your brain works. It is a story machine. The key to using the story method is to make the story emotional, funny, or even a little bit rude. The more you break the rules of logic, the more your brain pays attention. And attention, as we learned, is the door to memory. Next, we move to the story method. We learned that your brain is wired for narrative. It loves drama, emotion, and connection. The story method is simply connecting your VISA pictures into a sequence. Why does this work so well? Because stories provide context and sequence. When you memorize a list, if you forget one item, the whole list is broken. But in a story, if you forget one detail, the flow of the narrative helps you jump to the next scene. The horse running into the shop naturally leads to him stealing the jacket. The jacket naturally leads to him lighting the candle. The story creates a logical, emotional chain that is almost impossible to break. Let's try a slightly more complex list, perhaps a sequence of historical events or steps in a process. Imagine you want to remember the steps for making a perfect cup of tea. 1. Boil water. 2. Warm the teapot. 3. Add tea leaves. 4. Pour water. 5. Steep for 3 minutes. 6. Add milk sugar. Now, let's turn it into a story. A giant angry kettle is boiling so hard it starts to sing a high-pitched opera song. Boil water. The kettle's song is so beautiful that a small shivering teapot starts to warm up and glow with happiness. Warm teapot. A tiny green fairy flies out of the teapot and adds a handful of giant glowing tea leaves. Add tea leaves. Suddenly, a huge waterfall of crystal water pours down from the ceiling, filling the pot. Pour water. The fairy then sets a giant hourglass and starts to steep her feet in the tea for exactly 3 minutes. Steep. Finally, a cow and a sugar cube jump into the pot, adding milk and sugar and making a big splash. Add milk sugar. This story is absurd, but it is memorable. You have a clear sequence of events, and each step is linked to a vivid, interactive image. When you want to remember the steps, you simply play the short, funny movie in your head. This is how you remember complex information, not just simple lists. You turn the complex into a simple, emotional, and unforgettable narrative. The Memory Palace, the ultimate memory tool. Now we combine everything we've learned, attention, pictures, and stories, into the most powerful memory technique ever invented, the Memory Palace. This technique is thousands of years old. It was used by ancient Greek orators who could speak for hours without notes. It is used by every single memory champion in the world today, and it is surprisingly simple. Your brain is already a memory palace. The Memory Palace is a place you know very well. Your house, your apartment, your school, your office, your daily walking route. You already have a perfect 3D map of this place in your head. You can walk through it in your mind right now. That place is your palace. How to build your palace. Step 1, choose your route. Pick a route in your house. The front door, the hallway, the kitchen, the living room, the bedroom. Pick 10 to 20 distinct locations in order. The front door, the doormat, the coat rack, the mirror, the kitchen table, the fridge, the stove, the sofa, the TV, the bed. Step 2, turn your information into pictures. Let's say you want to remember the first 10 elements of the periodic table. Hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon. Nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon. Turn each one into a crazy picture. Hydrogen, a giant water hose. Helium, a balloon with a happy face. Lithium, a battery exploding. Beryllium, a giant berry. Boron, a boring old man. Carbon, a car burning. Nitrogen, a knight fighting. Oxygen, an ox with a mask. Fluorine, a floor shining. Neon, a bright neon sign. Step 3. Place the pictures in your palace. Now, you walk through your palace in your mind and place each picture on a location. At the front door, you see the giant water hose, hydrogen, spraying water. On the doormat, the happy balloon, helium, is floating. On the coat rack, the battery, lithium, is exploding, burning the coats. On the mirror, the giant berry, beryllium, is smashed. On the kitchen table, the boring old man, boron, is sleeping. On the fridge, the burning car, carbon, is parked. And so on, the magic of the palace. When you want to remember the list, you simply walk through your palace in your mind. The door, the hose, hydrogen. The doormat, the balloon, helium. The coat rack, the battery, lithium. Your brain loves this because it is using its natural ability to remember places and images. You are not memorizing text. You are remembering a journey. This is the ultimate system for remembering anything: speeches, lists, dates, names, and especially English vocabulary. The memory palace is a place you know very well. Your house, your apartment, your school, your office, your daily walking route. You already have a perfect 3D map of this place in your head. You can walk through it in your mind right now. That place is your palace. Let's expand on the memory palace example. We use the first 10 elements. Let's imagine you want to remember the first 10 vocabulary words you learned in English. Your 10 words: house, tree, water, book, friend. Happy, run, eat, sleep, now. Your palace route. 1. Front door. 2. Hallway mirror. 3. Kitchen table. 4. Fridge. 5. Sofa. 6. TV. 7. Bedside table. 8. Bed. 9. Window. 10. Closet. Your VI pictures. House. A tiny perfect dollhouse on the doormat. Tree. A giant oak tree growing right out of the hallway mirror, with its branches full of leaves. Water. The kitchen table is completely flooded with crystal clear water. Book. The fridge is open, and instead of food, it is filled with thousands of books. Friend. Your best friend is sitting on the sofa, laughing hysterically. Happy. The TV screen is not showing a show, but a giant, glowing, smiling face. Run. A tiny, energetic mouse is running laps around your bedside table. Eat. You are eating a giant, delicious pizza while lying in your bed. Sleep. A huge, fluffy cloud is floating outside your window, and you see yourself sleeping on it. Now, the closet door is open, and a giant clock is ticking loudly with the word now flashing in bright neon lights. To recall the words, you simply walk the route: front door, house, mirror, tree, kitchen table, water, fridge, book, sofa, friend, and so on. The journey is the memory. The palace is the vault. This technique is not just for lists. It is for organizing your entire knowledge base. Imagine having a palace for English vocabulary, a palace for history dates, and a palace for your business presentation points. You become the master of your own mind. The power of spaced repetition. The final secret to remembering forever. You've learned how to encode information into your long-term memory using attention, pictures, and the memory palace. But there is one last step to make it permanent: repetition. But not boring repetition. We use spaced repetition, the forgetting curve. Scientists have shown that we forget most of what we learn within 24 hours. If you learn something today and don't review it, 80% of it is gone tomorrow. Spaced repetition is the solution. It means reviewing the information at increasing intervals. The perfect review schedule. Review 1, 10 minutes after learning. Review 2, 1 day later. Review 3, 3 days later. Review 4, 7 days later. Review 5, 30 days later. How to apply it. If you are learning English, apply this system to everything. New vocabulary, grammar rules, and even the sentences you hear in this video. The more you review them at the right time, the more they become automatic. You will stop translating in your head. You will start speaking from the heart. The secret to fluency. Fluency is not about knowing 10,000 words. It is about having 2,000 words that are so deeply ingrained that you can use them without thinking. Spaced repetition turns effort into automaticity. It turns knowledge into skill. Let's apply the perfect review schedule to your English learning. Today, learn 10 new words. Create their VI pictures and place them in your memory palace. Review them once before you sleep. Tomorrow, day 1. Review the 10 words again. Walk through your palace. It should take less than 2 minutes. Day 4. Review the words again. You will notice it is slightly harder to recall, but the memory is still there. This effort is what strengthens the memory. Day 11. 7 days later. Review the words again. Day 41. 30 days later. Review the words one last time. After this 30-day cycle, the information is considered permanent. It has been moved from the short-term whiteboard through the long-term notebook and into the permanent, unshakable vault of your mind. Your memory is a muscle. You have all the tools now. You know how to pay attention. You know how to turn words into pictures. You know how to wrap them in a story and place them in your memory palace. And you know how to make them permanent with spaced repetition. But remember this, a muscle only grows when you use it. Your memory is not a hard drive that gets full. It is a muscle that gets stronger the more you train it. The more you remember, the easier it becomes to remember more. So start today. Choose one thing you want to remember. A name, a fact, a new English phrase. Apply the steps. Pay attention. Create a picture. Place it in your palace. Review it tomorrow. You will never forget what matters again. You will finally feel what it's like to trust your mind. You will be in control. And you will speak English with confidence and clarity. This is the system. This is the secret. This is your new beginning. Thank you for listening. Now go and remember everything.